You got to be strong, you got to be tough, you got to do your job. Whatever it takes to do your job, you got to do your job.
And part of that job is to go where you're told to go. These days, President Donald Trump has taken on that responsibility to tell National Guard troops where to go. Over the weekend, it was reported Idaho will be one of 19 states sending National Guard members to assist with illegal immigration and crime. There'll be about 1,700 troops in this mission. So the question is, will Idaho Guardsmen be heading to Washington, D.C. or Chicago or New York, as President Trump has alluded? Joe Paris joins us now with the answer. So, Joe, the question is, what is the assignment for Idaho?
Well, first of all, they're going to be staying here in the state of Idaho, Brian, and this is going to mostly be an administrative assignment. So, again, over the weekend, in the cable news cycle, this headline that there are 19 states part of this new effort, Idaho, one of them. Details were limited, though. You could see the highlighted red states. These are the list of states that will be doing the ICE National Guard mission. And we found out today that Idaho, they'll have their personnel start on the operation in a few weeks, in September. The Idaho National Guard tells me today in part that the National Guard will be sending 14 personnel from Idaho to support 3 ICE offices around the southern part of our state, staying in the Gem State. So the National Guard, they'll do some administrative things, and they say that allows ICE to dedicate more of their agents to field work. Saying, quote, our personnel will work with ICE staff to develop specific support plans. They're going to be doing things like case management, record keeping, data entry, and other clerical activities. And they begin to really do this in early September. The DOD has authorized National Guards to provide support through November 15th. So Governor Little's office clarified that, again, this mission does not include sending any Idaho National Guard members to places like Washington, D.C. to help with what the president describes as crime prevention support. The governor authorized this action a few weeks back, saying, as commander-in-chief, I'm proud that the Idaho National Guard is ready to support our federal partners, going on to say that the guardsmen are trained, disciplined, committed to serving the people of Idaho and Americans across the nation. So the governor's office reiterating the goal is to have National Guard personnel pick up support functions so that ICE can dedicate more agents to law enforcement activities. The governor explains that the Idaho National Guard is funded federally and remains under the governor's command and control while working directly with the local ICE offices. This move, though, if you look back on the calendar, was actually announced in July. The Department of Defense announced that this was all in response to a request they got for help in May. Similar messaging. Service members will do case management, transportation, logistical support, clerical support. They also say the in and out processing of illegal aliens at ICE detention facilities. Again, Idaho's not included in that. So the National Guard in each state is administered by the National Guard Bureau, which is a joint venture between the Army, the Air Force, and the Department of Defense. But again, under the direction of the governor. There is, however, a provision that allows the president to federalize the National Guard and put them under his control, which leads me to a new development just today. As we were working on this story and getting questions about immigration, an executive order came from President Trump saying that additional measures to address the crime emergency in the District of Columbia within it, saying that the Secretary of Defense is going to immediately ensure that each state's Army National Guard and Air National Guard, they have the resources, training, organization to help federal, state, and local law enforcement in quelling civil disturbances. And it goes on to say, in addition, that the Secretary of Defense wants to make sure that as a standing National Guard, they have a quick reaction force that is ready for rapid nationwide deployment. And we reached out to the governor's office and the National Guard Bureau for more details, because you get one idea from the immigration things, but then when you read that executive order, you wonder, well, hold on a second, this seems like it's going a little bit further. So this just came out. We're still waiting to get an official answer from the Bureau, the National Guard Bureau, and the governor's office.
And I'm sure this has a little bit to do with what happened in L.A. A few months ago, and that one is still tied up in court, suing that he overstepped his bounds, President Trump did. And I think when he was signing that executive order today, he's like, I think we should get Congress to sign off on this, and I think they will. Who knows how that's going to play out? Again, right now, it's just an executive order, and how Idaho plays into that, still, I guess, a question.
Yeah, and there are 2 different ways to deploy the National Guard. The Title 10 one would allow the president to federalize them and essentially have control over them. But it is a reminder that although the National Guards are state-based, they are technically with the Department of Defense. So as you highlighted, there is some maneuvering on the paperwork. But we will find out in the coming days what this looks like. In terms of that first part of it we talked about, Brian, in terms of the immigration, again, they are not anticipating guardsmen from Idaho going to D.C.
And we did get this question earlier, whether or not Idaho taxpayers are going to be on the hook to pay for this. I guess the short answer is yes and no. I mean, as a taxpayer of Idaho, Idaho's not paying for it, but you're a U.S. taxpayer as well, so I guess you are paying for it.
Yeah, it depends what bucket you want to look at.
Exactly.
Technically, it's not coming out of Idaho's budget.
Right. All right. Thanks, Joe.